a massacre. Zimbabwe, we be full of drug dealers.
Yo.
Pick all the hoes from Magic up. Tell Tabitha.
Did you share it on the page already?
So we can build a neighborhood out in Zambia.
We already online.
Did you share it already?
What if J&B win and bought some land in Egypt and Puffy put a strip of clubs off the sands of Kenya? Since America can't stand to see us, show them why you never fight their hand to feed you. Calm Akon like the city of Alex.
Can you hear the music?
Yeah, it's loud.
In Nigeria. A king of diamonds in Liberia, ballin' in Algeria, ain't gotta put my cheery up. And if you black, you fit the criteria. We need Oprah to open up some more schools. Tell Michael Jordan we need some more shoes. Make sure every rapper still got Pro Tools. I'm just saying I'd be a bold move. Make Obama the president. His daddy from Kenya, so that make even better sense. Tell Morehouse to bring all the medicine. Pachi got the party out, he's gonna tell him medicine. New Africa. New Africa. New Africa. Tell the motherland that a nigga coming back for her. New Africa. New Africa. New Africa. Tell the motherland that a nigga coming back for her. I found utopia in Ethiopia. I gotta be with beautiful women. I got a phobia. But my side home from Morocco. And I got another chick in Nairobi because I look like Philip Cooley when I'm rolling up. Probably because all the groupies show me love. I'm on my way down to Cape Town. They say that's a young nigga's playground. I met this shit from Molly in the party. She said she took a Molly in the party. Man, I swear her titties was so big I said, pardon me, but who let Dolly in the party?
You already know what it is. It's your boy DJ Too Easy with the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Mr. Education, Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Williams. What's up?
Man, another day, another dollar, man. What's going on with you?
Man, nothing. Just over here cooling at the crib, hanging out, man. That's all we've been doing, trying to stay low, stay out the way, stay away from this corona.
Did you share this link?
Yeah, I just put it on Facebook.
Okay. For those of you all who are listening, you can follow us on Facebook. We are Facebook Live and we are on YouTube at The Black Tape Podcast. Again, we got a great show for y'all. A lot of information. You already know what it is. DJ Too Easy, Mr. Education himself. Let's get right to it. Hey, man, my weekend was pretty laid back. Family time. You already know, spend time with the family, play with the kids, and just, have fun. Today is Friday, so, we usually do pizzas or eat out on Friday. So that's probably what we're doing today. Ain't no probably to it. That's exactly what we're doing as soon as the show is over with.
Yes, sir. That's the best way to do it.
What about you? What'd you get into?
Man, just been hanging for real, man. Trying to make sure that we get all our work done, school work. I'm still working and everything, having to touch base with teachers, doing different activities with them. So just, staying out the way for real, man, just cooling.
Yeah, everybody's still dealing with this coronavirus, people losing family members and things of that nature. So we definitely need to take heed to it. It's a lot going on. So make sure you are paying attention. Make sure you're washing your hands. Make sure you're doing all of the things that you're supposed to do to stay virus free. And I also want people to understand that aside of the things that you're supposed to do, positive attitude is everything. Take care of yourself, washing your hands, take care of your family, take care of your kids. Don't have your kids running all over the place. You don't know where they at. You don't know what they're doing. Positive attitude, positive affirmation, speaking positivity into existence is very important at a time like this.
No, I definitely agree because you got to change that mindset. Because especially in a time like this, like you said, dealing with the stress and anxiety and different things of that nature, you have to kind of change the way that you think about it and learn to adapt to it. So it doesn't make sense to stress out about things that you can't control. Focus on the things that you can control and make the best of what you got.
Definitely. I mean, it's a lot to talk about. We lost a great young man, Ahmaud Arbery. Finally, if you don't know what happened, long story short, a young man in Georgia was jogging down the street, athlete, just wanted to keep himself in shape, probably wanted to, you know, some of those positive affirmations and things that we're talking about, just trying to blow off a little bit of stress. Long story short, he ran into some gentlemen who were white. They said that they thought he fit the description of someone who broke into their house or had been breaking into houses. A scuffle ensued, and he ended up being shot and killed. Initially, we didn't know what happened, but fortunately, we had one of the murderer's friends, who happened to be following Ahmaud, had a camera and was recording the whole thing. And that seems to be, in my opinion, the only reason that they picked these guys up. And they're actually in jail right now. The father's bond was denied, and the son is also charged with murder. They're actually sitting in a jail cell right now. It's just a crazy world we live in. You know, as we were talking about spending time with kids and family and things of that nature, it hurts me that I have to sit down and have conversations with my sons and tell them, hey, you got to be careful when you out here, you know, listen to the police, don't make no sudden moves if you ever get stopped by the police and things of that nature. I know you were about to put it.
Yeah, those are the lessons that we have to teach our kids, but also the lessons that we were taught. I think that's one of the little things that we had to kind of deal with being Black in America, and then also being Black man in America as well. You know, because not only us as men are threats, but also because of our Black skin, we're viewed as threats as well. And just kind of go back a little bit about the story about Mr. Arbery. So with that, you know, they didn't even, the murderers, and we're going to call it like it is, you know what I'm saying? Like the murderers, they saw this man running in the neighborhood. They assumed from a distance that he had looked like somebody who was robbing houses, like you had mentioned, in the neighborhood. They said, go get your guns. So they intentionally went up to the rooms, got their rifle. They said they had a handgun, and they also had another revolver. They followed this man, cut him off in the middle of the street, would not let him around. So I know the initial reports were saying that they pulled off to the side, you know, just asking them, can we talk to you, different things of that nature, but they weren't impeding his progress. But the video shows, like you said, and they were saying, like, without the video, it wouldn't even be what it is right now. So thank God that there was a video. You know what I mean? So we could get some type of, you know, justice for this young man. You know what I'm saying? Because you're impeding his process as he's running down the street, and then he has to try to go around, and you're still, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think any person, you know, was confronted with somebody with a gun, regardless if they're saying they want to talk to you or whatever the case may be, you're going to try to get away. You're going to do what you got to do to try to get away. And I mean, that's viewed as self-defense. So.
And it's just unfortunate that we still live in a day where we can't even enjoy ourselves, just being who we are, going out into the world and doing great things. We can't do that because there's always some type of negativity or some type of racism issue or some type of I'm Black and you're white. You know, it pisses me off sometimes when people say things like, oh, well, color doesn't matter, or this is not a race thing. What you need to understand is if you're the minority, color always matters. If you're the minority, being Black always matters, because there's a difference of opinion in everything that you do, say, feel, and it's totally different from any other race that walks this earth. Now, are there other people who deal with social injustices and negativity and all of that? Yes. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care who's talking and who's listening. It's hard being a Black man in America.
Absolutely. You know, even broader, being a Black person in America. So I know our sisters, they got it rough too. You know what I'm saying? So we're not trying to take anything away from them. But, you know, speaking from a Black man's perspective, which we are, it's difficult. The things that we deal with, the stresses that are involved, how we look. You know, I know for me, and I don't know if you've experienced this too, but even going into like interviews and different things of that nature. So I remember my first principal's position. I was going to apply, and my mother, you know, no ill intent from what she was saying to me, you know, telling me I need to cut my beard and I need to cut my hair down and different things of that nature, because I had the little sponge thing going on and everything on my head. And I told her, no, I wasn't going to do it, because if they don't accept me for me and who I am, then they don't need me. You know what I mean? I've had I had a Black lady who was my boss for a while at a company. I remain nameless. And she told me I needed to look like the person that was cutting the check. So basically, like, I need to shave my beard. I shouldn't have a beard because I look aggressive or I look intimidating to other people. And the fact that that's just the perspective, or the thought process behind a lot of people, not even just minorities, but also the majority.
Right.
That's kind of troubling. You know what I'm saying? That a beard equates intimidation. You know what I'm saying? I'm big and black. I'm 6'2", 250 something. You know what I'm saying? That equates to intimidation. Even though when you get to know me, you know what I'm saying, I'm a nice guy, I like to believe. You know what I mean? But like, just the sheer appearance of looks alone could be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
So gotta
definitely. And I think aside of all those things you just said, it's another important factor in there, and the fact that we have to teach our young men on a consistent basis, and young women, how to avoid the police. Things, I can remember being stopped in Chicago. I've always had a nice car. I think this was 2017. I had a like a light blue Charger, brand new, Hemi, everything in it. Long story short, my church happens to be in the hood, and I was leaving church, and the police pulled through the alley, came around, stopped me, asked me for my license and registration. I asked them what they pulled me over for. Oh, license and registration. So I give them the license and registration, and then they pulled me up. Then they said, "Oh, well, this car looks similar to a car that just did a shooting about 5 minutes ago." But what frustrated me was as he was asking me for my license and registration, I kind of caught myself and said, "Hey, can I dig into my glove compartment and get my license and registration?"
Mm-hmm.
And at that very moment, it made me feel so less of a man that I had to ask another man, "Can I move?" Because I was afraid that if I moved too fast, he might have shot me in my head and said, "Oh, he had a gun. We thought he was reaching for something."
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that we live in that type of world, but I also think we should take into consideration that as young black men, we have to learn how to control our emotions and our angers. That's something that I teach my kids all of the time. What I mean by that specifically is going into the 4 family members that were charged with killing the security guard in Flint, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm talking about controlling my emotions, the news, the news about it said that they walked into the store. The security guard asked them they need to put on a mask because, of course, we know the coronavirus, everything that's going on. The brother, one of the 4, got an attitude, said something smart. Next thing you know, some guns was drawn and somebody ended up dying. When I talk about, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can finish.
When I talk about controlling emotions, some things can be avoided, but because we don't know how to control our emotions, we spend more time trying to be tough and hard and aggressive and play this whole facade like we have to put on for the people around us. When the fact of the matter is, you're more of a man when you avoid a situation and or can figure out how to maneuver out of a situation without getting yourself or somebody else hurt.
And I definitely understand what you're saying. And the incident in Michigan was definitely tragic. I think it escalated to a point that it didn't have to escalate to, just because of the mask. And then a young man, a security officer, young man lost his life. And then also the other people that are losing their access to their lives, you know what I'm saying, like the freedoms that they have and different things of that nature because of the poor decisions that they make. I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. Jumping back to, what you were talking about, how you were pulled over for having a nice car and different things of that nature, having to ask somebody for permission to move. I don't want to get into a point to where we start, and this is a struggle for me because I struggle with, conforming to these different types of expectations, conforming to the majority's expectations on us and how we should behave when it's not equal across the board. So I struggle when I have to tell my son, like you were saying, that you can't do the same thing that your white friends do. You know what I mean? You can't respond the same way to people the same way that your white friends do, because it's not fair. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I struggle with this aspect of it because of the fairness behind it, or the lack of fairness behind it. So I struggle with saying that we have to control our voices or we have to control our emotions in certain situations. Now, when I'm talking about emotion, I'm not saying like getting physically violent or different things of that nature, but it's okay to be angry. It's okay to express anger. It's okay to express frustration. It's okay to express displeasure in different types of situations. But you have to tailor your message to the audience that's receiving it. So I kind of stray away from saying, you can't be angry or you shouldn't be angry or express anger or frustration in this situation, because if that's how you feeling, that's how you feeling. I think my personal perspective as it relates to like the policing in our community, I feel like we have to have the relationship. So once you have a relationship with somebody, and I think this kind of goes into education as well, once you have a relationship with a group of people or understanding of a group of people and how they behave, how they interact and different things of that nature, it makes it easier to relate to them, to police them, to discipline them. So if I'm tying it to like the educational field, I've had white counterparts who don't understand how young Black men interact. You know what I mean? So when I come into a situation, I'm able to easily diffuse it because I know how we are. I know how we play. We play fight. We do all that type of stuff. We're going to talk about your mama, going to talk about your daddy, whoever it may be. But that's not aggression. You know what I'm saying? That's having fun. That's us engaging with each other, interacting with each other. But a white counterpart come into a same type of situation, and then it blows up into something else because they don't understand the people that they're talking to, or they don't understand the culture or understand the practices and how we play and different things of that nature. So
we also should be able to distinguish the difference between anger and frustration, because I think on a larger scale, being frustrated with somebody can lead to something as to where being angry, you're pretty much almost there already, in my opinion. So I think that when I say we have to learn how to control our emotions, because more often than not, we spend more time trying to, in any situation where it's unfair to us. Unfortunately, we have to talk to our kids and tell them, you have to live through the issue so that we can take care of it on the other end of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
So i.e., the police pull you over, it's unlawful, they're being assholes. Well, I still need you to be calm and say yes, no, give them what they need so that you can drive home to me and tell me what happened, so that then we can take it to the next possible step and make sure that we get fair treatment for the next young man who might come into contact with their police officer. So that's what I mean when I say control emotions. Now, are there times where we need to just run amok and tear shit up? And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we're getting to a point now to where, well, not getting to, I think we are at a point right now where we're just praying or just marching or just talking is not gonna get where we need to get. Yes.
If it's not impacting their pockets, it doesn't matter. And that's the whole, if it doesn't affect money, it doesn't matter. And we can see that clear as day with this whole quarantine thing. They try to get things moving now that their money's starting to be affected. You know what I'm saying? They open the economy back up. Forget about the workers and their safety and their health and different things of that nature. We need to get our money back. You know what I'm saying? We had a comment too. I got it going on Instagram Live too. So Dave, he said, as a Black man, our frustration is seen as anger out there. I agree. So our frustration could come off as anger. You know what I mean? Having that divide or us being able to distinguish doesn't mean something for the people that are actually receiving it. And a lot of times, how you were saying, be able to come back and we could deal with it on the other side. Unfortunately, what we've seen, we haven't even had that opportunity because in the streets, it's the judge, the jury, and the executioner out there. So we don't even have an opportunity a lot of times to come back and deal with it.
Times, yeah.
Not all the time, but a lot of times to come back and deal with the situation on the other end. And that's, that's something that we're seeing on a daily basis. It's something that we're, so it's not just like false pretense. Like we're just coming up with this false narrative that's being created. We're able to see it due to these videos and different things that are being shown.
Well, there was also another young man who lost his life. He was in a high-speed chase, ex-Air Force. Long story short, in a high-speed chase, he jumps out, runs. For whatever reason, the cops ended up shooting him over 5 to 6 times and killed him. The speculation was that his phone lit up and they thought it was the flash from a gun. So that was why they killed him, or that was why they shot him. But again, one thing I learned in the military was escalation of force. For the life of me, I cannot understand why we have all of these police officers, and I do understand why, but why we have all of these police officers who can pull out a gun and shoot somebody to kill that's running away, or somebody that has a knife or is mentally disturbed or talking about killing themselves. Instead of trying to talk someone off of a ledge, we spend more time pulling out a gun, shooting them and killing them. The first thing we learned before we deployed to another country to fight a war was escalation of force, meaning I cannot do to you what you're already doing to me. If you're shooting at me with a handgun, I can't go get a tank and shoot a tank round at you,
Right.
because that's overdoing it. If you're shooting at me with a handgun, I can disable you. I can shoot you in your arm, your leg, your other leg, or your other arm. But to shoot to kill on the first shot is unheard of unless your life is in danger. Too many times that we're watching on the news, these police officers' lives aren't in danger. They're just afraid. And that goes back to what you said earlier about training, about if you're going to have police officers in our environments where they aren't comfortable, you need to give them the type of training that they need to survive in those type of environments. Because if I pull up on 5 dudes and I see them shooting dice and I'm a police officer, I might say, hey man, y'all chill out, go behind the building. You know, you can't be doing this, da 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 da. As to where a white man who doesn't know the environment, he's going to automatically assume there are more things wrong than what you see right there in front of him. So the attitude might be different when he pulls up. They already know about white cops and what's going on, so they ain't gonna want to deal with him. So they're gonna be being smart. He gonna try to overly control the situation because he got a gun, and then we got another problem all over again.
Absolutely. And even with that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that on top of what you're saying, like being fair across the board. So like that's my expectation, that things are fair. So in the same sense, you know, like we're talking about how they interact with Black people and different things of that nature, but they don't interact the same with the others. You know what I mean? So like I saw a video, or actually a picture on Facebook earlier today where, you know, they had the protesters who were out there with their guns and different things of that nature. And there's a counter protester. So right wing, left wing, they're over there. The right wing has his hand on the gun with a police officer right in the middle of him.
Right.
He's reaching for his gun, pulling it out, and the police officer just has his hand out, saying like, no, stop. You know what I'm saying? And if it was us, you know, I can't help to feel this way. You know what I'm saying? If it was us, we would have been shot. You know what I'm saying? Or tased, or whatever it may be. I highly likely shot. We can't do the same thing. And I think that's the most frustrating part right there, is the fact that it's so unequal. If things were all equal and, you know, they treated us all was all the same, you know, great. You know what I'm saying? Then I don't think there would be a whole lot of commotion or a lot of, you know, whatever it may be, but it's not equal. You know what I'm saying? Even when it comes to like the discipline or the justice, that is the lack of justice that we receive for our Black bodies dropping compared to them, you know what I'm saying? It's different. You know what I'm saying? And it shows us that our Black lives don't matter. And then you're perpetuating this, that we don't matter. Our skin color is big enough threat, period, point blank. So you have a right to shoot us like an animal. You know, you think about like with the dogs and stuff, with like Mike Vick, you know, he served time. You know, he had to go do a bid because he was fighting some dogs. You know what I'm saying? Dogs. Like, just think about that. Not a body, not a person, not a human, but dogs. But you got these cops that are getting off, or Zimmerman who's getting off for killing Black bodies. You know what I'm saying? With nothing. No, not even a slap on the wrist. You know, it's terrible.
You know, and I think we also have to deal with, again, you know, me and you have these talks often. I think we have to deal with ourselves and what we can do on our end to prevent this from continuing to happen. Now, of course, we can't control anybody else's emotions or feelings. We can't stop them from pulling out a gun and shooting us. But there are certain steps that we can take. Black men and Black women. It's okay sometimes to show deference and respect. You're not less than because somebody is telling you what to do, or somebody said something that you didn't like, or somebody called you out of your name, you're not less than for walking away or saying, you know what, man, that's not the type of energy I'm about. Let me go on about my business. We watched Nipsey Hussle be murdered out on the street for something as silly as somebody calling somebody a name, and they didn't like the name, so they then came back and put a bullet in his head and killed him. Now, again, whatever the argument was over, you know, we've gotten both sides of the story, and it was pretty much over somebody being called a snitch. But it wasn't over somebody being called a snitch. It was over somebody's pride being hurt.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand that what they say, pride comes before the fall of man.
For sure.
You have to understand that your pride ain't more important than your family. Your pride ain't more important than your kids. Your pride ain't more important than leading toward the future. And you can't do that if you have the reckless, immature thought that every time somebody does something to me that I don't like, I have to get physical and I have to be aggressive. We have to learn how to think. We have to learn how to use our minds just as quick as we can use our hands and use these guns. And when it gets to the point that we have to be aggressive in a smart way. Mm-hmm. Don't think I got to run back and go get my gun and shoot somebody to prove a point. Because to me, you're more of a man. You're more of a man if it gets to that point where you square up with somebody, you beat the brakes off of him or he beat the brakes off of you, but there's a mutual respect, and then you go on about your business if it has to get to that point. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about controlling emotions, because we were raised that don't show emotion. We were raised that, oh, well, you know, you crying is not good. Hold your stuff inside. And now we're seeing 20 and 30-year-old men that have been holding their emotions inside for so long that can't have relationships, can't raise kids, can't have a connection with their wives and mothers, can't have friends and communicate with each other, a whole bunch of lost souls. So all of that plays into what we're talking about when I say controlling emotions.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely. Dave's asking about, you seen the Shannon Sharpe one or Shannon Brown?
Yeah, Shannon Brown.
Yeah, where he
some people came on his property. Supposedly they said that he said, "Come on in."
He said, they said somebody said.
They said somebody said, "Come on in." And then when they came into the property, he fired some shots.
I probably would have did the same thing. You know, I think the whole caveat here though is the fact that this house is up for sale. Right. So it was a sale sign. They said they were supposed to be meeting a realtor or whatever the case may be. They were underneath the assumption of, you know, the doors open.
That was the realtor, yeah.
The realtor was there, you know what I'm saying? But that wasn't the case. But he ended up going to, I think they locked him up. They took him to jail over that. I'm interested to see how this going to play out though.
I think this will honestly be a case where somebody feared for their life and somebody's coming in your house and you have to, and again, if you from the hood, you got to make rash decisions quick, or that's the difference between you being here the next day and you not. I think when they break down all of the facts, they just gonna see that he made a mistake. He thought somebody was coming in his house and he was trying to defend himself.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as, but again, it all goes back to the type of world we're in, the type of environment that we're faced with. You know, you talk about race doesn't matter, but I really wish, and you know, when I get that sum of money that I need to do it, I'm gonna put this idea on paper and turn it into a film. I really wish people could really understand the differences between being a black man or a black person in America and being a white person in America. Because when you wake up black, there is all of these things that you have to worry about on a continuous basis. You got to worry about the police. You got to worry about, is you doing something wrong? You got to worry about how you carrying yourself. Why should you worry about how you carrying yourself? Because people are watching you. You got kids to raise. You got a whole bunch of other things that on the other side of the spectrum, they don't really have to deal with.
Even deeper than that, what type of car you drive? You know, like you were talking about the type of car that you was driving, getting pulled over. You know what I mean? So our counterparts, they don't necessarily have to think about what type of car am I about to purchase and what are some of the repercussions, unintended consequences that I may encounter because of this. I remember the Charger that I had. You know, I'm a black dude in a Charger, a blue Charger, with back windows tinted, front windows weren't, so they could see me. I got pulled over in Westerville. They told me my license plate light was too dim. It wasn't bright enough. So of course they did that just to pull me over to see what was going on, what type, you know what I'm saying? Why am I driving this type of car? But they didn't have nothing better to do. You know what I'm saying? I didn't break any type of law, anything of that nature. They ended up saying my license plate light was fine after they already took me in. So I mean, it was crazy though. You know what I'm saying? Like, that type of stuff.
And people need to understand that they do that to find probable cause. What I mean by that is when they pull you over for something stupid like that, and they come to the car, they're checking to see how fidgety you are. They're checking to see if they can smell any marijuana or liquor in the car. These are already assumptions that they have in their head that we do. So when they pull up to us, they're waiting on one of those keys to click in, and then from that they make a move based off of that. If you're smart, I mean, I'm unfortunately a smart ass. So when the police pull me over, I don't roll my window all the way down. I keep my window halfway up. When they ask for my license and registration, I'm quick to say, no problem, but can you tell me why you pulled me over? Because I want to know right up front what's going on and why you did it. And then I handle my license and registration after telling them where it is. Can I reach for it? And if they try to come with some bullshit stuff, like I had it happen to me not too long ago. I was making a right at a light, and the police officer was coming from the opposite way. When I made the right at the stop sign, he said that I didn't stop. But on the left side is a hill that you can't see up until you get to the top of the hill. So if I had to roll right through that stop sign, I probably wouldn't be here today. And I told him about itself. I said, look, man, I know why you pulled me over. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing else other than you trying to see if I was doing something wrong, because I'm in a neighborhood where it ain't a lot of us that look like me over here in this neighborhood. Oh, no, it's not anything to do with that. All right, so you finished? Yeah, I'm finished. Have a good day. Have a good day.
Yeah. And I think that's required though. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that we have to learn to advocate for ourselves. Speak up for ourselves. So not letting, just bullshit to happen. You know what I'm saying? The way that you handled that, it doesn't seem like you came off disrespectful or anything of that nature.
No.
It wasn't aggressive. You had a conversation with them. If we have the opportunity to do those things, I think it's important that we do check them to let them know, like, we're paying attention. We see this.
And I think it's very important that there are some people, white, Caucasian, other races, period, all of us, that we don't know things about other races. There are people that just don't know. And until you introduce them into something other than what they've heard and what they've seen, they're automatically going to assume that everybody is coupled into that. So it may just be that situation might have just been God making it happen so that I could explain to him that everybody that look like me ain't doing something wrong. And that might change his career from 2 years to 30 years. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
So we got to take into consideration that it's not always about us. Again, I always say that my life. Go ahead.
No, I think, and I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I think on the opposite end, a lot of people are tired of actually being the teachers. Why do we have to educate somebody else on us and how we behave and different things of that nature? When we're taught about you every single day and how you operate and everything else. But why do we have to be the ones to teach you about, why it's racist for the things that you said, or why this is, bigotry, or whatever the case may be? Like, why this is this? Why do we have to be the ones to educate you on us? I think that's the frustration, though, man. Because, like, we deal with it in the workplace, we deal with it in our policing, we deal with it everywhere. You know what I mean? And we have to tell you, we're not what you think, and we have to kind of break it down for you. But you've never taken the initiative to go out and find the information on your own.
Right.
You just make those automatic assumptions based on what you heard, different things of that nature. So.
Well, they came and sat at our feet before, and we taught them everything we knew that got them to where they are today. So if we got to teach them again, then that's just what we got to do. Yeah. I think, well, I don't think, I know for a fact, at this point, the things that we continue to fall for and the tricks, it's all on us. Some of the things are on us. And what I mean by all on us is we have to be a lot smarter than we are. Perfect example. They're trying to open everything back up. The first city they chose to open it back up fully is a black city.
Yeah, for sure.
you got to have enough common sense to know that they ain't just choose that city based off of the fact that it was just a thriving city of Atlanta, and they chose it for a reason. And but you not that smart to get that, so you go out and get your hair did, go get your nails did, going out partying at the bar, and in one day they got 1,000 new cases.
Mm-hmm.
One day. That's just the people that actually went to the doctor. Now,
and the fact that the governor I can't remember the governor's name in Atlanta or in Georgia, but he's the one who made the decision, and he made that decision by himself. So he didn't even talk to the mayors of Atlanta, of Georgia. He didn't talk to Augusta's mayor, Atlanta's mayor,
Governor Brian P. Kemp.
Yeah, Kemp. So he didn't talk to anybody else, but he went out and made this decision to open this type of stuff up. So kind of going along with what you're saying, like, there's a reason why he made that choice. And, we're not going party affiliation. He's a Republican. You know what I mean? A lot of the mayors in the cities are Democrats. You know what I mean? So the fact that you didn't have a conversation with one of these mayors in these different types of cities, Atlanta probably being the largest with the largest population, you didn't talk to them at all about what they're seeing on the ground level in their areas, but you go on and make a decision to open everything back up. Like you said, it's definitely political, racial.
And let's go a little bit further than that. This is why it's important that we get out and vote. Because if we put him in office,
not just the presidential election.
Huh?
I said not just at the presidential election.
Oh, well, to be honest with you, it's more important to vote at the lower level before you get to the presidential election, because the lower level directly affects you, your city, your area, your kids' education, your food, the agriculture, the water, everything. It directly affects you.
Everything.
Right.
Everything. So
we got to take into consideration, if you stay in Atlanta and you voted for him and he's doing y'all recklessly like this is something that we got to look at as voters and say, look, let's stop going for the okie doke. Let's stop going for the bullshit. Let's stop voting for people who just say good things and we voted for them because they black.
Or not voting at all.
Right,
you have to
right. Let's go to the town hall meetings. Let's go to the Board of Education meetings. Let's start showing up places, talking to people. And if people don't give us what we want, you can get the fuck out of here. We can't. Right. We don't need you, because how he became the mayor of Atlanta, it's beyond me. When there's so many black people there, I guarantee you a lot of them didn't vote.
Yeah. Or they just didn't do research. So either not voting, you're not doing your research, and it's important that you look up to people who are representing you. Like you said, at the lower levels, I'm not going to say lower levels, but the levels underneath the presidency, those are the most important elections, period. Like you said, you're passing legislation, you're passing all these different types of things, and these are the people that are representing you at the House and Congress, Senate, all those different types of levels. So definitely have to do your research.
And just stop falling for the bullshit, man. Like, we live in an age now where you can go search things. You can go Google names. Once you find Google, you can go search it. You can break it down from the top all the way to its lowest common denominator to get understanding about what you need understanding about. But we spend so much time on things that's bullshit, that's not important, that when it comes time to learn something, learning ain't important. When it comes time to be able to go search and find out what's going on in the world and why they dealing with this and why we dealing with that and how it affects all of us, only thing we're interested in is what's going on our block. Who fighting? Where the hoes at? What time y'all going to the bar or to the club? You getting them new J's? Where the money at? Dumb stuff. Nothing that has anything to do with building towards the future. And it starts just as important as it is for black women to stand up. It starts with us black men, because if we continue to not lead, there's not going to be anything to follow.
And that's a key point right there, because we are leaders. We should be leading not only our families, but also our communities, contributing back into our communities. So I think, and I'm like you said, me and you, we have these conversations all the time. We even talked about, forming some type of new party and different things of that nature. But I definitely think that's important, that we collaborate, that we come together as a community, that we start to take over these communities. Jay-Z had a line. He was talking about Nipsey Hussle when Nipsey passed. And he was like, gentrify your own hood for the people do it. claim eminent domain to have your people move in. You know what I'm saying? And just how that resonates. You know what I mean? So like we're letting people come into our communities who have been impacted by poverty and different things of that nature. But we're letting other people come into our communities, these poverty-ridden communities, take them over, push other people out, push our people out of these communities so they can move in and gentrify them. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know what gentrification is, you definitely need to look it up. But they're taking over our communities. You know what I mean? The communities that we've grown up in, the communities that we've lived in for years, the communities that our parents, grandparents, whatever the case may be, have lived in, and taking them over, revamping them, and then kicking us out. You know what I mean? And raising the taxes, different things of that nature. But we have to kind of come together and take back these communities. We have to, find a way to grow the communities and increase the production of the schools by moving into these communities. I think I've talked about this a number of different times with a couple other friends too. If we come together and just buy a block, I buy a house, you get a house on the same block, Dave, you get a house on the same block. Dang it, I see you in here, you got a house on the same block with us. You know what I'm saying? And we just have all these different houses in the same block and we continue to grow it out organically. You know what I'm saying? And then we gentrify our own hood. I think that has a huge impact. It has a huge impact. But we have to get to that point where we do different types of things, where we trust each other. Because I think a lot of times in our community, we don't trust each other. And I think that's a detriment to our progress. We definitely have to learn to trust each other and be able to work together.
Be able to work together, be able to trust each other, be able to communicate, be able to show empathy, be able to show emotion correctly, be able to look at each other, understand each other's mistakes, and then grow from them. The one thing that we don't have that pretty much every other race seems to have is togetherness. We spend the most money in the United States. The black dollar is enough money for us to have our own continent and be the 8th richest continent in the world.
Facts.
The black dollar, now we don't make the most money, we don't have the best jobs, but our spending power shows that we have enough money to be the 8th richest country in the world, and still yet we stay in a country where we don't own shit.
Facts. And
that makes no sense.
And that goes back to what you were saying earlier. Like we focused on the wrong things. Our priorities, if we're looking at a whole, it feels as if our priorities are so messed up.
Right.
So we stand in line to go buy the J's. We'll be in line at 3 o'clock in the morning to get some J's at 8 o'clock. Standing in line for 5 hours. Show that commitment for something else. You know what I'm saying?
But you won't go to your kids' school and show up to an event, or you won't go to parent-teacher conference, or you don't check on your kids' grades, or you don't call the teacher and say, "How's my son or daughter doing?"
We definitely need to learn how to prioritize. So prioritize our money. So like if we have the money, we're just going out spending it. Why aren't you investing? So that's something I know I talk to the kids at school about. Who are all sneaker freaks. They love sneakers. They love tennis shoes. They love the newest Jordans, et cetera, et cetera. And when I talk to them, I'm like, so once those Jordans are gone and you wore them out, what else do you have left? You have nothing. So why don't you buy or put some money up and the same amount of money that you would spend on a pair of Jordans for $250, right now you could have 4 shares in Nike. So you could be a partial owner of Nike. And then you start making money on top of that money that you spent. You know what I'm saying? Instead of buying a pair of Jordans and you're not making anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we definitely had to change the way that we think. We had to change the way that our children think because we are the examples. We are the role models for them. And if we continue to do the shit that we've been doing, we're going to continue to get the same shit that we've been getting. You know what I'm saying? So we have to change the way that we think, change the way that we operate, and begin to lead our families different. So,
and even with all of that, I'm going to take it a step further. Stop settling for bullshit.
Right.
Because bullshit is so easy. Stop taking the easy road out because you don't want to go through the process of the long nights and the uncomfortability of stepping outside of your box. Be a leader. Lead by example. It don't take much. You ain't got to be perfect. You ain't got to have all the answers. You ain't got to been through 3 divorces and married 5 times. You ain't got to do. All you got to be is be who you are but be 100% who you are. Always be open to grow and learn and love, and always be open to evolution and evolving.
And
I think, go ahead.
my bad, but I want to just highlight something that you just said there. So learning comes in multiple ways, but learning also comes in feedback. So when you receive feedback, don't be so negative or closed-minded that you don't receive this feedback. You know, you and I, you know, we've had these conversations, as uncomfortable as they may be. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to hold each other accountable. So if we see something that one another is doing that we don't agree with, or that we don't think aligns with our goals, our common goals that we've talked about, that we talk to each other. We check each other. We let each other know, like, you know what I'm saying, this doesn't align with what we were talking about. You know, this doesn't align with the direction that you're going or that you're heading as a man. This doesn't align with the man that you're saying that you're going to be. And I know that you said you had that conversation recently with somebody else too, because what you put out online is in direct conflict with what you're saying that you are. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we have to be able to walk the talk, talk the walk. We have to be able to be in line with the things that we're doing and saying.
And don't let your pride get in front of the constructive criticism. I was at a funeral last year, and the pastor was preaching, and he said something. He said, "Now, don't make this death all about you. Don't try to make this whole death and this funeral thing all about you. And you're thinking, what could I have done to help her or him? What could I have done to make sure that this," because it's not about you.
Facts.
And I think most times we let, again, our pride become more important than the situation itself. Sometimes you got to tuck that damn tail between your legs, put your pride to the side, listen to the constructive criticism, go back in your hole or your corner and think about it. Let it go through your head a couple times, and then look at the situation from that other individual's point of view and say, well, damn, is this accurate? Can I adjust what I'm doing? All right, well, people keep telling me, like it took for me to have to do that to understand the process, because people kept telling me, you're an asshole, you mean, you don't care about nobody else's feelings and emotions, all you care about is this, this, and that. Eventually, I got tired of hearing it, and I had to sit down and say, well, how can I change? How can I adjust? What can I do to become the type of individual that I want to be seen as? Right. So put that pride to the side, man. Men, it's nothing wrong with showing emotion. We have to be comfortable showing our emotions and learning how to place it in the correct places at the correct times. That's something that a lot of us should have learned as kids, but we didn't. So now we're here as adults and we're trying to learn how to do it in the midst of also being an adult, trying to have a relationship, trying to raise kids, trying to learn yourself, trying to love the other individual, trying to shield your family from the world, trying to be a guy and look like a guy and act like a guy, while all of these other things are in place. Simplicity of it is prayer. Stop. I think for some time, and I think this keys into everything that we talked about. We spent hundreds of years just praying and waiting. It's time to stop praying and waiting. It's time to start praying and doing.
And there's a verse in the Bible that talks about that. Faith without works is dead.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why we just believe that, just sitting there waiting for answered prayers, that we're going to get our prayers answered. We have to get out and act.
Because we've been brainwashed. Yeah. Because like I always tell people, God gave you a brain for a reason. Use it. Stop waiting on the blessings to fall down on you and get your butt up sometimes and make some things happen yourself. Because although God knows everything, he might be surprised and say, well, damn, I was going to do it, but you went on ahead and made it happen. I'm proud of you, son.
I don't know if he'll say, well, damn, but yeah.
I mean, he might. We don't know. It depends on, whoever you believe in. But, stop. I think we spend, we just going to pray about it. No, it's time out for praying about it. Let's get up. Let's go, while we quarantining and we got time off from work. If it's a big march going on in Georgia, hey, let's put a couple dollars together, rent a truck, and drive down there with some masks and some gloves on, and be a part of it if we got to. Because some things are worth more than just you.
Absolutely.
And that's the big point of it.
I agree. I wanted to bring something else up real quick too, since we're talking about like things greater than us. I don't know if you saw in Michigan, I can't remember. She's like a congresswoman, so she was a black lady who was walking into the state house, and the mob out there, and all these
black men walked her in.
Black man walked her in. That right there means a lot. You know what I'm saying? And we need to use that as an example in the way that we operate as young men, that we show our sons, because I feel like there's been a disconnect in the way that we protect. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think we try to protect our pride and our selfishness, but we're not protecting others. So getting out into the community and seeing that since they're gonna be out there with guns, we got these black men and we're gonna walk this black woman to where she needs to go to make sure that she's not harassed, make sure that she's not picked on, you know what I'm saying, bullied, whatever the case may be. And she's able to move with the mind, knowing that I'm good because my brother's got me. You know what I'm saying? That's so important. And I wish that we would do this more. And I want to see this done more to where we're protecting each other and keeping each other safe. And us as black men are stepping up and protecting our women and our kids. And we're putting them in a position to where they could do all the things that they need to do and accomplish all the things that they need to accomplish. But like you said, we kind of had to get out of our selfish ways and come into a point to understand that this is bigger than us. Okay, so let's protect the people and put people in position to handle the business. You know what I'm saying?
And stop being afraid to die for shit. You're not afraid, and this is just us as people. Yeah. You're not afraid to die for shit that you don't believe in. But you're afraid to die for shit that you do believe in. What I mean by that is you don't like racism. You don't like your brothers and sisters being treated unfairly. You don't like social injustice. You don't like the difference in education when you go from one city to the next. You don't like all of these things. You're not willing to die for that. But if a nigga step on your shoes, you willing to die for your pride. If a girl disrespects you, you willing to kill to make sure that don't nobody know that really deep down inside, that whole thug mentality shit that you portray, you weak in the inside.
Facts.
Because the strength comes from,
Because they broken.
Right, because you're broken. The strength comes from you being able to control your surroundings at all times and never being able to let somebody else take you outside of your box. Anytime you, and I'm still guilty of it at times, because I get angry all of the time and I'll be ready to smack the shit out of a lot of people. But the fact of the matter is I have to grow. I have to learn. The one thing that made a king is a king sat on a pedestal. Certain conversations he didn't have with certain people. Certain people couldn't even get around him to have a conversation because he carried himself a certain way. He proved something to the people that put him in the position to be the king that he was. And when he didn't show the people that he was still a king, they got him up out of there.
Facts.
Learn how to play the role as a king and as a queen. Stop letting what they put on TV. Stop letting the hot girls and the shake your ass on YouTube and Instagram all night. Stop letting that lead you, and let the things that you know deep down inside are wrong and right lead you correctly.
Absolutely.
And we could go on for days and days and days. I just think that it's important for us to communicate. It's important for us to love each other, teach our kids, stop settling for bullshit. Stop letting companies just come in your neighborhood, buy up everything, and then just control what goes on in your neighborhood. It's okay for you to go look that company up and go down to that building where that company is supposed to be 5 or 10 deep and say, hey, we want to have a conversation because we see you buying up all of the properties and we want to find out what are you going to do for our community.
What are your intentions? Absolutely.
It's okay to pull up 5 or 6 deep. They're going to be scared, but good, because we tired of them doing what they want to do with our neighborhoods, and we should scare them whenever we can get a chance to. Because
that goes back to accountability.
Say again?
I said that goes back to accountability, holding people, companies accountable. Like you said, so what are you doing with our neighborhood? We talked about political officials earlier, holding them accountable. So that's definitely the focus, holding people accountable.
Going into these gas stations, going into these stores. Stop letting them take advantage of you. Stop letting them charge taxes on non-taxable goods. Stop letting them tell you that you can't use your debit card for a purchase of 50 cents or they're going to charge you a $1.50 fee. That's illegal, but they only do it where they can get away with it because they don't go into white neighborhoods and try to do that because they know they'll be shut down.
Okay.
But if we don't know any better, we'll go in there and they tell us, hey, you got to spend $2 or more to use your card. Oh, okay. Well, we go buy $5 worth of stuff we don't need just to get the one thing we do need. No, what you telling me is, look, I'm gonna call the 1-800 number on the back of that debit card swipe machine and let them know that you telling people that this is this non-taxable item is taxable. But again, if we don't know no better, they can get away with it. That's why we got to take the terms to learn. We got to take the time to educate. We got to have platforms like this and other great podcasts and shows where people are trying to teach things, and we have to move when it's time to move. Stop being so afraid to die for what you believe in. I know it seems so harsh and far-fetched, but what's the purpose of you living a life if you're not willing to die for anything that's important? What's important to me is my family, is my loved ones and my friends, is that we all grow. It's that we're all on this continent 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years from now, still being great, still teaching, not under duress, not still dealing with social injustice, not dealing with racism. And I know it's far-fetched, but at the end of the day, one little rock can make a ripple in the ocean that changes the whole spectrum of the water.
And that's real. That's definitely a real statement. I think a lot of people need to come to grips too. We might not see it in our generation. You know what I'm saying? In our lifetime, we may not see the change that we desire. You know what I'm saying? But our great grandkids very well may see that change that we desired. So not only are we not making it, we're trying to make it a better world for us, but we had to make it a better world for the future generations that come behind us. And that should definitely be the focus. So
Definitely. Again, we want to take the time to say thank you all for checking in. You know that you can follow us at The Black Tape Podcast on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter, The Black Tape Pod, on SoundCloud, The Black Tape Podcast. Again, you know, so I know it's a lot of emotion out there. It's a lot of anger out there. It's a lot of frustration. You know, tap into your God and the spirituality that you believe in and get some understanding from it, because it ain't nothing man can tell you that God can't tell you, and God can't break down for you. So tap into that, tap into your loved ones, communicate with your loved ones, go call somebody and tell them, hey, you know, I apologize. I didn't mean it like that. You know, go try to better understand a situation. We've been on quarantine for about 2 months now. If you haven't done anything to better yourself, something's wrong with you. And I'm here to tell you that you need to find something to bring yourself out of the hole that you've been sitting in for this long amount of time. Whether it's starting another business, whether it's taking on some more courses, whether it's teaching your kids things that you didn't get taught when you were younger, take a step out of your comfortable square and do something that makes you uncomfortable to become more comfortable. I know it sounds crazy.
Because growth doesn't come from comfort. Growth comes in discomfort. Uncomfortable situations are where people grow. You think about kids when they're growing up and they're getting taller. Their bones hurt because they're growing. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with us as adults, mentally, physically. Growth comes from discomfort. So definitely get uncomfortable so that you have the ability to grow.
So again, we appreciate y'all checking in. You already know what it is. It's your boy DJ Too Easy and
Mr. Education, Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Everything. Listen, until next time, Facebook, The Black Tape Podcast, YouTube, The Black Tape Podcast, Instagram, The Black Tape Podcast, Twitter, The Black Tape Pod, SoundCloud, The Black Tape Podcast. Until next time, peace.
To the motherland and the nigga coming back for her new Africa. Imagine if all the rappers were to get with all the athletes, the activists, and actors. All the ambassadors in the motherland. Tell them we coming back for her America. Know if we leave, it be a massacre. Zimbabwe will be full of drug dealers.